Hey guys, how is everybody doing? And we have finally reached the end of my Christopher Nolan review series. Shouldn't say finally. If anything, I'm more bummed because The Odyssey is now officially playing in theaters. As the time of recording this video, you can go out and watch it in the theaters, and I highly recommend you do so. I will hopefully be going out and watching it tomorrow, which we'll see what time does for me because there's a lot going on for me right now. But we have reached the end of my Christopher Nolan review series with arguably his best film so far, for me personally, and that is Oppenheimer. Now, I remember when this movie was coming out, I remember how excited I was because not only one was it going to be the first Christopher Nolan movie I saw in the theater, two, this just looked like a very, very good movie, and it also just told the story about the man that created the atomic bomb that basically ended World War II. And I remember to this day, there was a bunch of like early reactions coming out and like early screenings back when it got screenings, and people saying how they were leaving the theater speechless, not having anything to say, and that had me even more intrigued. I'm like, oh, it must be really good. And when I watched it, I fucking loved it. It was a movie I was like, that was an amazing movie. I really loved that. And I have not rewatched it since then because, 3 hour movie, don't have 3 hours of, spare time to just watch a movie anymore. And so this was my first time rewatching it since it came out, and somehow I loved it even more. But let's talk about why I loved it. So getting right into the positives of Oppenheimer, and my first positive of Oppenheimer is the music, the score of this movie. I forget his name, but he also composed the score for Tenet. So I really like this composer. It sounds like, and he is, excuse me, he's the one that's also composing the Odyssey. So I'm very excited to see what he does with that movie. The score in this movie is one of the greatest scores that I have ever heard in a film, with the main one being titled "Can You Hear the Music?" When I that this score is basically all over the internet, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, or whatever. And it's part of memes. It was part of a big meme at the time, I remember. So that tells you how good it is. But just in general, it's an amazing score, and I can make the argument that it's probably one of, if not the best score of this decade. Now, obviously, there's a lot of really, really good ones. There's a lot that are, you know, up there, obviously, like even the Batman. You can't see the poster, but that's what that is. That's a Batman poster. I really wish it was in frame. I should probably switch the Alien one and the Batman one because I don't really like this movie. But the score in this movie is just absolutely amazing. I loved it ever since the first time I heard it, and like in that ending sequence of when it's playing, of like when the movie is just ending and it's just slowly zooming in on Cillian Murphy, the score just playing there. That's when I started to like realize how much I loved it. It doesn't really play throughout the entire movie. It only really plays like in one part during the beginning, and then it plays again at the very end. But when it is playing in the film, it's an amazing score. I absolutely fucking adored it. It is one of my all-time favorite scores of today. And again, I can make a huge argument that it's probably even the best score of the decade. And it does not surprise me that it won Best Original Score at the Oscars. I was so happy when it did because the composer does an amazing job, and he's also just a really damn good composer. So, seeing how good it is in his score is in this movie has me so fucking excited to see what he does with the Odyssey. And the performances throughout this entire movie, they are all brilliant. There is not a single bad performance. There is not a single hiccup from any single actor in this movie. The performances just all around are fucking amazing. And again, there's no question why Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. both won Oscars for this movie. So, kind of going and so continuing off of that, Cillian Murphy's performance as Robert J. Oppenheimer is an amazing performance. Now, I've always really liked Cillian Murphy. Whenever he shows up in a movie, I've always really enjoyed him. Uh, especially movies like since he's been in Christopher Nolan movies before, whether it's Batman Begins and Inception, kind of smaller roles, and that's kind of what Cillian Murphy was for a while, and now he's hopefully going to get bigger leading roles. But Cillian Murphy, he's always been like this small role type character, kind of like a background actor. If you want to say that, except for movies like 28 Days Later, where he's actually the focal point of the film. And I have also really enjoyed him in 28 Days Later, and I'm hopefully excited to see him come back in the new 28 Years Later movie. Hopefully they fucking make it because Bone Temple was awesome, and I want my conclusion to that. But Cillian Murphy, he was always just kind of like an actor that was just kind of there hiding in the background, like a background character, like I was just talking about. But in this movie, he takes the full stage. He is the focal point of the movie, and he is the main focus of the film, and he basically takes control of this movie. And he does an amazing fucking job in this movie. And sometimes his performance isn't him even giving lines of dialogue. You can just tell what his emotions and feelings are just from his facial expressions, like from his eyes, like in the like the expression that he's making on his face while something's going on, like he's not even saying anything. You can just tell how he's feeling about a situation just by looking at his face, and that just tells you how damn good of a performance that he gives. And there is no question why he won Best Actor at the Oscars that year, and that was another Oscar win that I was very happy to see because I was like, yeah, he fucking deserves it. He did an amazing job. And then you got Robert Downey Jr. in this movie who gives an amazing performance, and again, no surprise why he won Best Supporting Actor that year. And I remember when I first watched this movie, I thought his performance was good, but I didn't think it was great like a lot of people were saying. But over time, as I thought about it, and especially on this rewatch, it it makes complete sense why he won the Oscar that year. And he's not really in it too much necessarily. He's more in like scenes where the filter becomes black and white, kind of old school Nolan. And his character, I will admit, is never really clear of what he's really supposed to be. But Robert Downey Jr. gives such an amazing performance, and since it's Robert Downey Jr., your focus is always on him whenever he's on screen, and you never want to take your eyes off of him because of the performance that he's giving. And I was also just really happy to see Robert get a movie like this because he's pretty much his whole career has kind of been decided by the MCU, which has basically been in his life for nearly 20 years, which is crazy to think about. So I was really happy to see him get a big role like this outside of the MCU because if we're being completely honest, he hasn't made a lot of great movies outside of the MCU besides movies like Tropic Thunder, Due Date, or whatever. And now that I'm thinking about it, didn't he do like a Doctor Dolittle movie?
Severe impaction of the colon. And if it don't man will fragment it, it'll go septic. You won't be able to protect anything anymore.
Is that? What the fuck is that?
I think he did. Now that I think about it. Oh no, poor Robert. But to see him oh my god, excuse me, I stuttered. But to see him do a movie like this, I was really happy to see, especially at the time, because again, he's been in the MCU for 20 years, and that's basically decided his whole future. So to see him actually be in an Oscar-winning movie now is just absolutely amazing. And then you got actresses like Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt, she's kind of like the how do I phrase this in the nicest way? She's kind of like the bitchy wife in this film, and she gives it a damn good performance. And especially just lately, Emily Blunt has been in amazing films and giving amazing performances. Hell, like last month, she was just in Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, and my feelings about the movie itself are but her performance in the movie was really, really good. And now to see her kind of be on this trend lately with movies like this, Disclosure Day, and other films, and hell, I'm pretty well. She was in this other movie not that long ago, either that she was also really good and that I liked her in. But Emily Blunt, she's been doing a lot of great projects lately, to where hopefully this will get her into like the lead role of a film one day to get her a best actress nomination, hopefully. And then you got Florence Pugh.
All right.
We all know why we liked her. All right. And also what I really liked about this movie is that there's a lot of like small cast names. Like you got the one dude from Halloween H2O in here who gives a pretty good performance as well. But the four people that I just mentioned, they are kind of like the focal point and the main focus of this film, and they all do an amazing job. And then there's probably someone else that I'm missing, and Matt Damon's in this movie.
Matt Damon.
I talked about him in Interstellar, and he's now going to be the main character in the Odyssey, which hopefully he gives a great performance in. But even Matt Damon's in this movie for a pretty good chunk of the film, and his performance in this movie is pretty good as the general. So yeah, the all of those names that I just mentioned plus more, they all give an amazing performance, and there's no denying why Robert and Killian both won Oscars for this film. And, piggybacking off of that, and then, just kind of like a little brief discussion. The cast in this movie is fucking stacked. I fucking adore this entire cast, and I just got done fucking praising their performances. You got, again, Killian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, you got Florence Pugh, you got Matt Damon. You got so many big name actors in this movie, and like I was just talking about, what I really liked about this movie, there was also a lot of small name actors that you recognize, but you would never expect them to be in this big of a film or in this big of a movie necessarily. Like you would always see them on, like, I don't know, like TV shows in the 90s or horror movie slashers, like the one dude that's in this from Halloween H2O, and he was just in M. Night Shyamalan's Trap a couple of years ago. So there's a lot of small name actors in this movie that you will recognize, but will be completely shocked or that are even in this movie, because you would never expect them to be in this kind of big of a movie. Hell, the fucking dad from the Ted TV series is in a small role with Robert Downey Jr. Like, how the fuck did he get in this movie? That blew my mind that he was in this. He's only in like maybe 3 scenes, but I remember when I first saw him, I was like, holy shit, how the fuck did you get in this movie, dude? But that's what I really liked about this movie. Not only do you have like these big name A-list actors in this movie, you also have these smaller actors that people will recognize, but they'll be completely shocked or even in this. That is something that I really, really loved about this movie, and only Christopher Nolan could pull off something like that. And going right off of that, it there's no denying that Christopher Nolan is one of the greatest directors working today. Hell, you can even make an argument that he could be the greatest director ever. And the fact how he made a 3-hour movie that is basically completely 99.99% dialogue. That's all this movie is. It's just complete dialogue. The fact that he can make this movie interesting, make it suspenseful, and make it so damn enjoyable just shows how damn good of a director he does, and he does such a damn good job of making this story happen. Now, I don't know much about the history of Oppenheimer. I only really know off of this movie and maybe a little bit of small interviews that I've seen where he says, like, now I have become death. I've seen a couple of those. That's all I really know about Robert J. Oppenheimer. So I don't know how historically accurate that he went off for this movie, but it seems completely accurate. But either ways, the fact that he made this movie so damn good from it just being complete dialogue and no action like whatsoever. The only action that we get in this movie is with the bomb test, and that's about it. And somehow, in some way, Christopher Nolan does what he does best, and he made this movie fucking awesome. I also really, really enjoyed how this movie kind of went old school Nolan again. No longer are there these, like, wacky, mind blowing concepts that no one has ever thought about, or, these big, concepts that no one will ever think about or whatever. Like that's not what this movie is. It's a simple biopic story about telling the true story about the atomic bomb that ended World War II. And I'm really glad that this movie kind of went back into to Christopher Nolan's older roots. Now he's basically going back into that direction with the Odyssey, with making this huge big budget film that, like, that's kind of hard to make, which he's talking about. It's like, oh, that was difficult for me to make. But what I really loved about this movie is that it felt like Nolan again. And, when I was watching this with the black and white stuff, like with those whole segments or whatever, where it would cut to that, it was like Robert being in like, Robert Downey Jr.'s characters being in like this courtroom or whatever. All of this black and white stuff really reminded me of Memento, of like when the main character is sitting in the hotel room on the phone giving himself new tattoos so he remembers shit or whatever. That's what those black and white moments remember and reminded me of. And there's like moments like mainly towards the beginning of the movie where it's kind of like told out of order, where Robert is talking to Oppenheimer's talking to Robert Downey Jr.'s character about the Manhattan Project and how well it went or whatever, and how they ended the war and stuff. It's kind of told out of order, where basically the beginning of the movie is showing you how the movie ends, and what, like, how we get to this point, like Christopher Nolan did with his old work with like Memento, Following, and hell, you probably I or maybe those are the only two. Those are probably the only two, and I'm just fucking overthinking it a little bit. And, I was really, really happy to see that, because I've always been wanting to see Nolan kind of go back to his old roots of making these like smaller like projects of like movies like Following Moment, like kind of like his early work pretty much. Basically all of his early work, like Following, Memento, Insomnia, you can even say Batman Begins to an extent. So, like, this movie kind of felt like a lot of his older work, of where he's not doing these gigantic concepts that no one would ever think about, or mind-bending concepts or whatever. It just felt like old school Nolan again, and that's something that I really, really appreciated. And this movie does an amazing job of kind of scaring you in a way, because by the time you watch this movie and by the time those credits start rolling, you will never look at the world the same ever again. You will probably never feel safe ever again, because what this movie shows you is what really happened in history. This all everything that you're watching is everything that we is that pretty much everything that's really happened in history. And what's scary about it as well is that it shows you how cruel and scary and fucked up this world really is. Because some people don't notice it, some people notice it, but we don't ever really talk about it. But this movie really shows you how fucked up the world is. There's like a scene where the characters are all talking to each other and basically trying to figure out a plan of like, or like a perfect place to drop the bomb to send a message to Japan. And there was one dude I remember in the room that said, "Well, we can't do it right here because I have a vacation spot there." Like, okay. And then fucking Gary Oldman, who I kind of always forget is in this movie, he plays President Truman, and the makeup on there is just fucking amazing, by the way. There's a scene where Oppenheimer is talking to Truman, and that whole exchange between Oppenheimer and Truman leaves you so uncomfortable and scared, to where you kind of sit there and you're like, is this what presidents are really like? Is this what, you know, the leader of America really is like? And it's scary, and it kind of makes you think like, well, how am I supposed to trust anyone as president if they're truly like this when it comes to war and it comes to, you know, favoritism, I guess you could say. And then the whole moment where they're testing the atomic bomb, which is an awesome sequence. There is the high chance, or not high chance, excuse me, the low chance that if they push the button, that it could destroy the world, to where you know, the atomic bomb, something I can't remember what it is, but something in the atomic bomb could basically be released into the atmosphere and slowly kill and basically destroy the entire world. And that whole scene where Oppenheimer's like, the chances are near zero, though.
Possibility. How remote? Chances are near zero. Near zero. What do you...
And you're like, and they still, on the chances of being only near zero, there's a huge chance that it could still happen. The government and everyone that builds this bomb, they're all still wanting to go for it. They all still want to test the bomb, even if there's a slight chance that it could destroy the world. To where no one knows that. No one knew that's what it was like. And it kind of has you sit there and think to yourself, there is a huge chance and a real possibility that is what is going on today. Like right now, all we know is that they're testing some atomic bomb or some kind of chemical like weapon that could have a slight chance of destroying the atmosphere and destroying the world. and we don't know a fucking clue. We don't know a thing about it. It can happen tonight while we're sleeping and we won't know. And Christopher Nolan does such an amazing job of showcasing that, showcasing how scary the world is, how fucked up human beings can be, and how scary war is. And that's what and when I was talking about like how once you are done watching this movie, you will probably never feel safe ever again. Now, maybe that's just me. Maybe there's some people that are willing to like, oh, it's just, you know, if there's a very low chance of it ever happening. Yeah, there's a very low chance of it happening, but there's still that chance, and that's what makes this movie makes you kind of scared after watching it. And that's something I really enjoyed. Now, that might sound a little bit fucked up, but when by the time the movie was over and I started thinking about stuff like that, I kind of thought to myself, the world truly is a terrifying place. But overall, guys, I have no issues with this film. I have nothing negative to say about this movie. This, to me, is a masterpiece. This is a modern masterpiece. This is one of the best movies that I have truly ever seen. And it's just a masterful art of filmmaking. Whenever people ask me why I love films, I always give them examples. I always say Kill Bill because it's my favorite film ever, but I also give them a lot of other names. And Oppenheimer would be on that list because this is a masterful film and just everything that you could want from a film, especially a Christopher Nolan movie. And yeah, and it could be in running for my all-time favorite Nolan movie. That's how much I fucking love this movie. But what do you guys think about Oppenheimer? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Are you in love with this movie like I am? Or are you in that, in that group that says that it's a little bit overrated and you can't get into it? Let me know in the comments below and we shall talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe to the bell notification so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. Of course, until my next video, see you all next time.